Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today on unlocking the future of material science, how open data and collaborative platforms drive innovation. My name is Nadia Adamovic. I'm from Technical University of Vienna, and I will be guiding you through today's webinar. The results that will be presented today were a part of one European project, MatCHMaker, and together with European Materials Modeling Council, we organized this webinar to present you these results. MatCHMaker project is designed to accelerate materials innovation through a collaborative open data repository. The repository provides tools, data sets, and modeling methods that are FAIR compliant, and these tools are supporting various applications across research and industry as well. Our goal today is to introduce the open repository and to show you how you can navigate and contribute to it, and highlight the role of open data in advancing material science. We have two experts with us today who will give presentations. These are Jacob Crucianu. Jacob is a technical leader and senior software architect at Simavi company with strong expertise in large-scale data systems. In MatCHMaker project, he leads the development of the platform and the open repository. The second speaker is Jesper Friis from Sintef Research Center. And Jesper is focusing on materials digitalization and interoperability, and he's also a key contributor to the EMO ontology and leads the ontology work in MatCHMaker project. I would like to inform you that you can immediately post any questions in Q&A. Please do it. As soon as we finish presentations, we will come back and reply all your questions posted there. But this is already open and you do not need to wait until the end of presentation. You can do it immediately if you have any question. So Jacob, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I am very honored to have the possibility to show you what we have designed and what we have realized in this project. And I'll start with a presentation, but immediately I jump in a live demo of the whole platform. Now, it's well known that in each work, in each job we are involved in, we have to work with a lot of data. That data is spread all around the world in different formats, and an important part of our work when dealing with that amount of data means searching for data, organizing the data, and put the things in a way that after that they can be used. The amount of data is more and more spread, and the volume is larger and larger, and more time is devoted just to find and organize that data. Considering the need to reduce this time and to focus on analyzing and on obtaining final results, there are different tools, different IT tools. One of the tools each one sees now and work with refers to that LLM and AI models, and that ChatGPT or Claude or others. But for specific areas, there should be specific tools. Our specific areas is related to materials, and to treat the big amount of data which refers to materials, we are proposing a tool, a repository, a platform which allow the users to get the data, to search the data, to organize it, to reduce the time for getting and organizing the data, and to let the expert do their real job, important to analyze the data and to obtain useful results. The platform we have designed to achieve that objectives was a federative platform where there are several places where data can be stored and processed, and there is a link to existing repositories, existing sources of data, existing project. By combining existing sources of data and existing system, IT system, and by offering specific tools to organize data, to make the data consistent, to place the data exactly where the user needs, we have designed this system, and we want to present you now. What are the steps in usage that platform? First of all, choose the data sources, data resources. That could be from local files to other projects, to other system, to the whole internet. Next, we define projects or workspaces. In fact, it's the most important thing, object, or let's say place where data which are used by us is placed. Next to that project or workspace, we add data. Important, we annotate the data, and this annotation is based on links to ontologies. Next, we create queries, and finally, we publish the data we have. Now, having this introduction, I'll start to presenting you the platform. So I'll stop sharing my presentation now, and I'll enter directly in the application. So MatCHMaker is designed as an open repository for materials data. But in reality, it goes far beyond that storage, because it integrates multiple data sources, semantic technologies, and also artificial intelligence. When I have started the project, ChatGPT was not in place. We can imagine that that kind of working is a risk, but in fact we have changed that risk in an opportunity, because we have added functionalities related to large language models in MatCHMaker, and we increase the usability and also the functionality of this system. Now, I have here the application already opened. You can imagine that there is a authentication and authorization mechanism. And I'll jump directly in the way how the users are managed. MatCHMaker the name is Open Repository, is open, but for registered users. That registered users can be guests, that mean people who consult the repository and all it is around this subject, but can be also other experts with different roles. There is an administrator who manage that roles, where for guests, the management is somehow automatically. You can request an account and you receive after a few exchanges of data, you can receive an account. But for others, there are different roles, starting with data scientist, system administrator, researcher, and so on. And depending on that roles, the user have access to different functionality of the system. The access to the functionality of the system is governed by roles, but also by ownership. And you will see next how this ownership is used and how is acting. Now, after we have a role, and let's say that we have an important role like data scientist or expert, or a role of a person who can organize the data and offer to others, we can search for information in other projects, like here, TRIP or EMC ontologies. There are other projects. Here is the information of this project, but also we can visit this site and we can get data from that science. There is also another link to a site where we have also data access from other project. But what it is more important refers to that data explorer. And this data explorer offer the possibility to take data from the local file system. For example, here we have a local file system, but we can have an FTP server somewhere. In this case, it is located in my company, but can be somewhere in another place, because I can add another one and I have just to put the address here and I can take data. And you can see here that I have the whole structure and what it is important, what I can do. I can view the content, but it is important that I can add the information to the project. In fact, by adding to project, we are able to organize data exactly like we want. And after that, data will be not spread all around our computer or in internet and so on. Data is in a place where it's very easy to be used. This add to project, and this add to project is also in FTP, is also in file system, is also in Git repository, because we can have here Git repository, like here. A Git repository is a whole project, is another repository. We can have here models, we can have here application. Important, we can add them to the project. The project is our place, is what we are working. In Git, we can also upload files, so we can share information and we can work on project on Git. Another important thing is related to, I called here Kafka data. There are messages, there are asynchronous messages. We allowed in the system a data streaming, asynchronous data streaming. This asynchronous data streaming allows large amount of data to be placed in the system and also to be used in the system. Now, Another thing, a very important thing, refers to ontologies. My colleague will explain you more about this ontology, but what I want to show you shortly is the fact that we can browse some ontologies. We have defined here several ontologies we are working on, especially EMO, which is defined for materials. And in that ontology, we can browse information, we can take data, and what it is much more important, we have AI tools to work on that ontologies. What the AI tools can do, that tools can search on the data, can use the AI, can interfere with other things, and even we can train the system to do what we want to do. So we can use, in our case, we can combine an LLM tool, a global one, let's, for example, similar with chat GPT. Here we have another model used, but we can train with new, here with new ontologies. We can train with PDFs and ask with PDFs, and we obtain information from what exists at global level combined with what we have trained the system. So there are full paths of combining data which is taken from other sources, explained before. We get data from FTPs, we can get data from any other tools. We combine them with ontologies. Why combining with ontologies? Because we have to be consistent, and we'll see more about this consistency in the future. Now, let's go to the core of the system, to the core of the organization of the system. And this core of the organization of the system is called project, a material project. We can create one. New project. Okay, but after we create a project, we have here it in the list. Once created, it is owned by the creator. So I have created, it's owned by me, and being owned by me, I can share this project, like here, I can share to others. So I can share, if I not sharing the project, it will be not visible to others. So only the owned or the shared project are visible to an user. And of course, if the user has enough roles for that project. Now, as I shared the project, what I can do now, I can organize the data. And organizing the data means creating folders, like here, like I have here. Here the folders are created according with the use cases in the MatCHMaker project, UC2, UC1, UC3. So that are the use cases in MatCHMaker, and we have here organized all the data. And after we organize that data, what we can do, we can add files, a folder, and if we choose a folder, the data will be added recursively, so also the subfolders will be added, or we can choose files and add files to that folder. So being here in a project, we can add here files, and as explained before, we can explore other sources of information, add to the current project. For example, let's open here. Okay, let me add one file, add to project, and I'll add to project. Okay, I have to choose the project and add this element to the project. Once a project being created, I can explore it. Okay, I can explore, I can see, and what I can do, I can view the file. And what it is much more important, I can annotate, I can add annotation. Annotation refers to metadata. So when adding annotation immediately to what I have, being model, being data description, being picture, or any other information I have, I can add metadata. And based on this metadata, I can make search using consistent semantic. Well, there are several types of annotation. There is an ID. If I am not entering here, it will be automatically created. It is important the title. And what I have here, I have a label, a description, creator, publisher, and so on. Well, I can enter information here manually, but what is more important, I can search in ontologies. And if I am searching in ontologies, I have templates for searching. I execute this, and I have different types of information I can use. Other ontologies, and also execute search. When I am selecting here information from this ontology, it is possible that labels be found and be automatically added. Just a moment. Okay. Search. So let's click here and click here, and you see automatically label and description was added. So I have added an annotation with reference to an ontology. And this is important because it makes somehow an end-to-end usage, starting with raw data, putting it in a project, organizing it, and after that, creating the metadata, which that metadata offers the possibility to search based on semantic knowledge of this thing. Well, now going in ontologies, I have searched on a specific ontology, and now I can obtain how this information is organized, and also the description in that ontology. By using ontologies, we define relationship between concepts, and that besides considering the consistency, the semantic consistency. What we are using here when constructing ontologies and also when searching ontology is a large language model which is inside our platform. We are not calling APIs or something like, okay, ChatGPT, Claude, or so on APIs. We have the LLM models inside our platform, and being inside in our platform, its usage is controlled, and also its usage can be increased by the information we want to add, not by information others put and it's not verified. So we are starting with a proven model and we are training it and increasing its capacity. The main idea of the whole platform, of the whole MatCHMaker platform, is to offer a tool to an expert. Does not want to replace the work of an expert or to reduce, but wants to help the expert on that redundant work, which does not give immediate value. The whole system help the expert to collect the data, to organize it, to annotate, to link it to ontologies and make it consistent in a way that lets him more time to analyze data and to understand what it is in that data and to use that kind of data. In summary, what we have before MatCHMaker, we have files scattered across different systems, FTP, Git, file system, internet, and so on. We might have metadata placed in some Excel, CSV files, and usually there is no link of information. By using a triple store concept where the links are by default, and by using that kind of projects and the usage of data from different sources, all using the same ontologies and same metadata, we are delivering an integrated data placed in project, which is organized semantically based and which allows AI supporting exploration. That's all about, let's say, the presentation of the whole platform. There are more functionality on the behind, which lets the user understand better what is happening in the system, how to use the system, how to find resources, projects, how to organize even events, and so on. But considering the material science, the main message I want to send to is that we're offering a tool to semantically organize the data and offer the right information in the right place when necessary. That's all from my demo. If there are no other things to do, I just stop sharing the demo and I'll go back to my presentation slide to conclude my my work today. Okay. There is another thing it was not visible, refers to offering data to other systems. So we are also creating an API system. So the whole repository could be accessed by other system in a system-to-system way of working. And there is a important part of AI. And in summary, we have started with the goal of establishing an open, accessible repository for materials data that supports knowledge transfer and data sharing. We are offering workspace repo creation. We are offering data organization. Data is indexed, linked, annotated is unique identifiers coming from specific ontologies. We are making it easy to be retrieved and consistent to utilized. We are incorporating major repositories already existing like Nomad, MatWeb, NIST Materials Data Repository. We are offering that platform for pilots, focusing on data consistency and retrieval. And in future, the open repository will serve as a foundational tool for advancing material science, promoting collaboration and interoperability across disciplines.
Thanks a lot. And Jesper, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nadia. Perfect. So I will discuss the interoperable semantics and frameworks, frameworks and ontologies part. So try to be little fast. So really what we want to achieve is to go from a picture where we have a lot of isolated domain knowledge, modelers living apart, industrial processes where people are not really communicating directly. A lot of knowledge exists in many isolated places. That's kind of how we traditionally things worked. We want to go from this picture to an integrated knowledge base where it is possible to connect these different pieces of knowledge and integrate. And MatCHMaker is trying with our repositories that Jakob was showing, and by creating these ontologies that I will speak about and systems to overcome this barrier and really enabling such an integrated knowledge base. Very short. This is a quite messy picture, but I like it. The knowledge can be represented at different levels. So at basic level, we can catalog where do we have different resources, where can you find a data set, and so on. That's called cataloging. If you start to describe the inner structure of your data set, so you're opening it up, then you do this structural data documentation. That's also something we're doing in MatCHMaker. If we are starting to describe how different data sets are linked to each other, so we really give the data context, then we are speaking about contextual information. This is really important for usability. So you can see this box here, what parts of FAIR they address. So cataloging is findability and accessibility. Structural documentation gives interoperability. Contextual documentation, of course, you can do findability. So here we can use contextual search enables, but it really, I think, is important is reusability. You get the needed context to actually reuse data sets. And we can then also go to the final level, semantic documentation, which answer the question of what is this resource that we are documenting. It allows us to share the meaning of the resources that are done. The kind of what are these? So this basic level tells us if you have data, which is simply just contrast. By adding meaning to it, and you do that by catalog and structure, we get information, which is useful data, structured and organized. By adding the context, we get knowledge, where we really is something that is you can learn from it, and then the final part here, using the semantic documentation, we get into a wisdom level where we can start actually to answer question how to go from one piece of knowledge to another. And making the data make it possible to use our data for actions. Okay, so Jakob, he showed the very quick image of a knowledge base with bowls. Here is just putting little more figures into it. The whole idea with a knowledge base is that we do have a lot of resources, instrument, people, researchers, results, and so on, and they are related to each other via some well-defined relations that are defined. Everything here is defined in our ontologies. So this is such a knowledge base we are building in MatCHMaker. One thing that is very important in MatCHMaker is we are working on both modeling and experiments, and being able to document an experimental workflow is really important. So here, for instance, if we have an alloy, there might be a measurement. So measuring the composition, that's something you're doing at a given stage of the alloy. Then it could be that you are heat treating the alloy and so on. And being able to describe such a complex workflow where you have a material that is changed at one position, it's actually cut into pieces. So one piece of the material has now been created, made as a SEM sample. A sample which has been cut out, could be looked into put into a SEM. It can also be electropolished and made into a TEM sample that then can be investigated from which we get some data that can be post-processed. And all of this we want to document. So that's really the question that we want here. We can look at a sample here and ask and document in our knowledge base the full history of it, and how this data would relate to other data sets that could be either from this SEM investigation or maybe from this rest of the material that could be used for other types of characterization. In the knowledge base, this is quite messy. It's I just included here to show that how this actually looks like, more technical in the knowledge base. What you could note is that these yellow boxes here are classes, and these the diamonds are representing individuals that are the main, what we populate the knowledge base of. It's just essentially what you can see is that everything here is connected, and it allows us to describe this workflow semantically. Here, for instance, we can see the cutting part, how that is represented by this individual here, and the temporal parts from how the main alloy has been developing at different temporal steps. To continue, if you now go more to the semantic documentation I was speaking about, we want to use EMMO which is really an ontology that is well suited for applied sciences. EMMO has a backbone starting in very fundamental level of causality, basic theory, and then that goes into a standard model, describe physics and materials. And here is kind of these levels also visualized in a little more what classes do you see. In addition, EMMO offers a set of perspectives, so which are decoupled from the physics background, the backbone. So here you can describe the world based on, for instance, a perspective like data. You view the items in the world as data items. You have the holistic perspective where you see the relation between the whole and its parts and so on. So together this gives us a very powerful way to describe the world, and which is used for the documentation of the workflow I showed before. In MatCHMaker, we have created a set of, we created a set of domain ontologies that are building on top, not only on top of EMU, but also a set of existing community-provided domain ontologies. So earlier projects have created the electrochemistry and battery domain ontology, which we then have been based when we have created our domain ontology for solid oxide fuel cells and so on. So what we have done in MatCHMaker is that we have taken the EMMO framework and further enhanced it. Okay, a few words how we actually documenting or populating the knowledge base in practice. Of course, that's actually something we have been working a lot on in MatCHMaker. First of all, the target user. I think we have three types of users. We have the one we are targeting here is the knowledge producer, which is person doing experiments, could be a lab engineer or modeler. They are not experts in semantic technologies. They are interested in the science, not in the tools. But we assume that they do know Python, which is really common for at least younger people today. We also put some requirements for our knowledge documentation system. For instance, that we do not want to require that the user learns our semantic technologies. That means that we need to have familiar interfaces. We have been using spreadsheets. It also puts a requirement that you need to put in a minimal effort on documenting the data, simply because the user is not interested in the tools. So we should allow to automate as much as possible, and it should be quite easy to benefit see the benefits immediately to motivate the user. And that means that we need early on to implement search access facilities, which is exactly what Jakob has been doing. Okay, we have a set of temporary spreadsheets that the user can fill out. And the idea is that each resource is a row in such a spreadsheet. We can document different types of processes, data sets, materials, and so on. We have a template of maybe 10 different types of resources that are common to use, but these three are the most important. It's quite a lot of work to fill in these tables, we realize, so we need to automate. So the idea is that when a lot of data has been collected in MatCHMaker, we have a lot of hundreds of TEM and SEM images. We create a local script that simply takes this data set and document it, generate these tables as showed before. And this is really local, so it adheres to the local structure here. And we get this standardized table, then we have tools in MatCHMaker that serialize this into the knowledge base represented in RDF. So the tools will then generate all of these, fill in these tables, and then it's possible for us. There might be things that are not completely filled in, so it's possible here to look at this, think about this table as a notebook, and go in and adjust them for hand if you need it. For instance, here the tool was not able to, the script was not able to fill in the description automatically. So if you need to document the individual, add a comment or a description for data, that's a place where a human can go in and do that before we populate the knowledge base. That was a message I want to give you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining this workshop. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for contribution of speakers today.